Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, Greg Majeski, your personal weatherman here, bringing you weather without all that social media hype here on your Saturday, January 5th, 2024. Let's go ahead and see what we're tracking here for today. Is we got a big winter storm we're giving you an update on. It also includes a severe component for this as well for tomorrow. We'll show you the specific areas that are going to be impacted with this system. It's also looking like a very frigid, cold week ahead, and we may yet have another winter storm to deal with a little bit later in the week, maybe a little bit further south than what we're going to currently see for this upcoming weekend. And then we're going to also see if there's going to be any pattern changes coming our way later in the month. We'll take a look at the latest long-range projections on that as well. Now, before we get going, I first want to say thank you to the new subscribers here to the channel. And if you're that 60% who have not yet subscribed to the channel, please help us out. Anytime you subscribe, it really helps us grow our audience and really get some critical information out to the masses. So please consider subscribing to the channel. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our current satellite imagery. Not looking too bad along the eastern seaboard, just plain old cold air through here. Here is the groundwork of what's coming our way. We're going to see this energy coming out into the plains with low pressure here forming across Oklahoma. And it's going to be turning quite wintry here across areas of Kansas into Missouri and areas here just to that north. Looks like out on the west coast, we've got another storm system coming into the Pacific Northwest up in toward Washington State and into Oregon. But it looks like we'll start to see a little bit of a breakout here in the days ahead for the west coast. Now, looking at a current watches warnings, you think we got something going on? You see that much pink on a map, you know you do. And this purple in here is where the freezing rain will be the worst, and that's really a concern. I'll show you some of the levels on that as well. So a big storm system here that's going to be tracking from, again, the winter storm watches out here on the mid-Atlantic and stretching all the way back to the Rockies. So this is a quite significant winter storm, our first major one really for 2025. Current surface map shows we got plenty of cold air down in here, that's for sure, with temperatures around 0 in Minneapolis here. Sorry, my radar is flitching out for you there right there. It's going through a glitch right now. But very cold air here across the eastern two-thirds of the United States. Again, getting a little bit quieter out on the west coast for a change. Just going to watch for this energy to come out. The Great Lakes, you can see, though, they're definitely seeing the lake effect machine going on, that's for sure. And taking a closer look, you see some of these bands coming in here. And it looks like the snow bands out here are really going to be picking up in intensity in the days ahead, that's for sure. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about the severe weather component of this system. Obviously you saw how big that area of coverage was for the winter storm that's coming. Let's talk about the severe part of this, as we do have unfortunately another enhanced area of severe weather that's expected here across portions of Mississippi, back toward Vicksburg and down toward Louisiana into that area. Almost the same general region that got impacted just a week or so ago with this as well. So again, we're talking about areas of Jackson, Mississippi, Monroe, Louisiana, Greenville, Vicksburg, and Clinton, Mississippi in that enhanced zone right there. The slight risk includes Baton Rouge, Lafayette, also looking at Beaumont and Lake Charles. So let's go ahead and break this down by the categories. Let's go ahead and look at the tornado breakdown for this. Again, not as high as last week, but still running pretty decently, about 5 to 9% chance in that brown zone in there. Again, that's what we're going to be looking for, the potential for a few tornadoes in here as the storm system gets cracked up. Again, I'm not expecting as many as we saw with the number of warnings from last week, but it will be up enough for folks to definitely stay weather aware and make sure they got their weather apps ready, and make sure you have those weather radios ready as well. Obviously, in the same target zone, we're going to be talking about significant wind damage, winds excess of 60 to 70 miles per hour, definitely potentially into this zone. So that red zone in there, I'll be looking at the highest wind threats between 30 and 44%. So please make sure that you stay weather aware in this area, as this will be weakening as it pushes off to the east. It'll be just a marginal risk as you look at the day 3 heading on out there, going into southeast Georgia beyond that. Now let's go ahead and talk about the heavy rainfall amounts. That's another component with this, as this is moving across the southeast. So again, we're going to be talking about areas there into the Tennessee River Valley, back in toward East Texas and into North Georgia, looking at the heavy rain threat into those zones going into tomorrow and into Monday morning. So once this goes on by, the big news story for the week this week is going to be the fact that we're going to be dealing with some very, very frigid temperatures. You get the hazardous cold here lighting up here across the middle of the country and up here toward the north. What's going to be adding to this is you got the cold air coming down, and we're going to have a pretty good blanket of snow on the ground as well. So that's going to augment, I think, the low temperatures in that zone. And obviously looking at freezing temperatures all the way to the Gulf Coast here as well. with this outbreak coming out for this upcoming week. So let's go ahead and break this down. We're going to first take a look at the high resolution model. We're going to be focusing in on this developing storm system here for today. So it's going to take us out till about going into midnight, going into your Sunday, okay? So we're going to be watching the middle of the country. You're going to watch the pink really start to pink up into this zone as this energy is coming on out, and we're getting that low pressure to form there. And then we're going to watch, obviously, the areas here in the deep south for a squall line that's going to form as well. So again, watch that timestamp there in the upper right-hand corner as you kind of take a look at the latest and greatest. The conditions are going to go down here. All that pink is freezing rain and sleet. That's going to be could be quite heavy in some zones. So obviously, an icing on bridges and overpasses will be paramount. You're probably going to get some power outages potentially across areas of Missouri as well. But as we go in through the overnight and going into tomorrow, and we get that daytime heating for tomorrow as this low starts to get cranking. So by the time we get toward about 9 o'clock, again, we're starting to get that low pressure here, right about in here starting to form. You got the heavy snow on the north side of that, and it's in layers, snow to freezing rain and sleet, back into rain as we go into your Saturday morning. So this right here is at 9 o'clock in the morning. And then we'll watch as we go into the afternoon, about 2 or 3 o'clock. Boom, here comes that squall line starting to come at us from Arkansas, stretching back into Texas. So again, we'll have to watch out for the potential for a few isolated tornadoes with this. Also noticing the rains begin to increase here across Alabama and Georgia out ahead of this system. And we got another system out here on the West Coast too. Don't forget you folks out there in Oregon coming in as well, going throughout the day on your Sunday. So let's go ahead and take this all the way out as that squall line pushes off toward the east. That heavy snow will also move through the Midwest and heading toward the Mid-Atlantic. Looks like it's going to be a snowy start to the day going into the nation's capital, into Baltimore and areas that are in Northern Virginia as we go in toward midnight here on your Monday. And it looks like as we going into Monday morning. So it looks like we got a squall line here coming into across Alabama, coming into northwest Georgia as we go into early on the Monday morning with this system. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the jet stream here. Again, what's driving this is we got this energy that's driving here to the south. It's this energy right here that's going to be causing our severe weather outbreak here as we go into our Sunday. So as I bring this forward here into your Sunday, right about there, you notice with this configuration, we've got this little bend right here in the jet stream. This is what we call a negative tilt in here. It usually means we've got a pretty good wind shear. That's changing winds with height. So what's happening is that the airflow here is basically splitting. It's doing like this. It's called diffluence. And whenever you get that kind of setup, you're going to get a spin up of obviously some potential tornadoes into that zone. They're not overly high in jet energy. I've definitely seen better, but it definitely is going to be there as we go through the day on Sunday. Then once this settles on in, we got just plain old cold settling, and they're going to watch this piece of energy back here across the southwest. It's going to eject out. Now it looks like the GFS in the European are starting to sync up for some sort of winter event across the south here as far as how it interacts with the cold air that's already going to be in place. So this will be for the week ahead going into Thursday and Friday as this kind of moves on in. So we're going to be watching areas here from North Georgia back over toward Texas into that zone with that energy coming out there. As part of that, it's going to split off there as we go into this upcoming week. So that's the second winter storm we got to deal with here later in the week as we head toward the 10th. Then as we go forward here in time, looks like we're going to see, again, another cold shot here coming down toward the 14th. As the air will start to modify a little bit here across the middle of the country, heading toward the 15th, the 16th, the 17th, especially across the high plains. You notice how high up north this jet stream is in here. So the air will be modifying a little bit across the high plains for sure, with some above normal temperatures briefly coming in. But then as we go toward the tail end of this model run, looks like we get another down surge here of another shot of some cold air coming down here across the eastern half of the country once again. So although it looks like we may get a slight brief in the cold air for parts of the country, it looks like we got just another cold shot coming down here as we head toward the 18th and 19th of January. So let's go ahead and look at this again as we're going to look at that storm system again. This is the one that's coming across the south. Again, we'll be watching that area. It's down in here for that potential for that severe weather. And of course, the multi-layered features of the storm showing the snow, the freezing rain, and the rain as it moves on through. So this moves on through, and then we'll have a pretty decent Tuesday, although it will be pretty cold. You notice the freezing line is way down here toward the south. Very, very nippy indeed, and it's going to get even colder as we head toward Wednesday and Thursday as we got some cold air coming down here. Here is a little bit of the polar vortex here, low kind of dropping across the Great Lakes. That'll definitely enhance the lake effect snows going into Wednesday for sure. And then as we go in toward Thursday and Friday, we'll watch some of this moisture kicking out into Texas and into parts of Oklahoma. So some of that will be winter precipitation there going into your Thursday, and this will track across the southeast. Again, coming into Tennessee, Kentucky, North Alabama, North Georgia. There's a lot of question marks on this, on how much cold air is actually going to be left as this system comes on out. It's not really an overly strong system, but it's going to be there. We know how folks in the South feel about any kind of winter precipitation. So I'll be going into your Friday and going into Saturday morning, and this should quickly pull on out. Then beyond this, now anything beyond this point at this point is say that redundantly there. Beyond 7 days, it's obviously an extrapolation. So let's see what the models are showing here beyond the 7 day. As again, we look like we're going to get a little bit of a break here. We got another shot of some cold air coming in across the Great Lakes. That'll keep that lake effect going up there. And then we get a little bit of a break going till the 15th. Look where the freezing line is here. It is way up here toward the north. It's still kind of cold here across the east, but looks like no major storm systems. And then we get a little bit of a break for parts of the country from the cold air, except for maybe the northeast. And then we get that another shot coming down. Here it comes again, boom, here comes another shot coming down here as we head toward the 18th and 19th. So we got another cold blast here coming across the eastern two-thirds of the country as we head toward the 18th of January. So one thing I will say is we're not seeing a really progressive weather pattern here, and looks like a lot of the country is going to be dealing with some dry conditions for the most part here outside of these couple of these smaller systems. So let's go ahead and look out for the next 72 hours. I'm going to take you out for the next 72 hours here for the next 3 days. We track that system here that's coming across the middle of the country. Obviously, here's the precipitation here, and we're going to have to break that down into its different components. Obviously, we're talking about freezing rain, sleet, and snow with that system as that comes on in for that 3 days. And we'll go ahead and do that here in just a second. And then going beyond that, we'll have to watch the follow-up system here across the south. Again, we'll dealing some heavier rains here across the south, and then we're also going to be dealing with some obviously frozen precipitation with that as well. I'll take this out to 240, out to the 10-day total here, as it looks like really beyond those two systems, it's relatively dry for a lot of the country. Once these two systems go by, we get a little bit of a break there. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the different components. Again, here is your freezing rain component. I went ahead and took it all the way out here, and I do want to go ahead and talk about some of the specific areas here. So let's go look at the central portion of the country here, look at some of these ice totals in here, and seeing 3/4 of an inch. That's definitely will cause some problems there across portions of Missouri here. And here's 0.86 inches here across Kentucky. So that is quite significant there. That will definitely cause some problems for power lines, and obviously bridges and overpasses getting pretty steep there. And this will continue to move off toward the east there, still seeing close to an inch here, 0.82 there across portions of Virginia and into West Virginia. So the icing is going to be a real headache and a real problem, and could cause some power outages with this as we go through Sunday and into your Monday here. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the sleet component on this. This is not overly bad. That's that layer up in between the freezing rain and the snow, kind of stretching again from Virginia all the way back in here toward Kansas. And then finally, let's look at the snow totals. We'll see how they're looking here. I'll take this on out for 72 hours, and then we'll focus on these as well. So don't take this out to 72. We'll stop it right there, and we'll look at the central portion again, look at some of these snow totals. It looks like totals in here upwards of close to a foot. I'm saying 11.5 right there. Then we get a little bit of a gap in here a little bit across Missouri and into portions of Illinois. And then as it continues on to the east, looks like it picks up yet again here as it runs into those mountains, close to a foot across portions of West Virginia, northern Kentucky, and getting into the areas just south of the D.C. area there with some of the heavier snows. Now I want to go back out here to the continental United States. I want to take this all the way out to the next snow event later in the week. Okay, so we'll be watching the one a little bit later in the week here. This is the one here coming out of Texas. So, you know, as we go in toward Thursday and going into Friday, we got the snows here erupting across portions of Texas. And this will track a little bit further south, but getting into areas there across Arkansas and getting into northern Alabama and North Georgia. So as we take a look at that as well, we got a little bit of a 4 to 6 inch slot there across northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, getting there, and maybe 2 to 3 inches getting into North Georgia as we go into next weekend. This is going into Friday and Saturday of next week. So again, we got two winter weather events we're going to have to watch as we go in through this upcoming week. Now, temperature-wise, looking at the temperature anomaly map here again, it's just going to stay plain old cold for the most part. Outside of that brief little respite we're going to get across the high plains. So here comes that initial cold down coming down here as we head toward Tuesday. Again, all that green, all that blue, these are unseasonably cold temperatures as we're heading here toward late in the day on Tuesday. Look how much of the country here is covered with unusually cold weather here, below normal temperatures for the most part as we head toward this week. So that'll continue here going into your Thursday, especially across the east. Notice we do get a little bit of above normal temperature-wise here across the northern plains, just a little bit as we head toward your Thursday. But for the southeast especially, it just stays mostly cold. There's another shot coming in here heading toward the 11th. And again, we see that temperatures are running just a little bit above normal here across the high plains, but the eastern third of the United States and the southern tier states continue to stay on the chilly side. And then as we go further out, again, as we go, let's go further out in time here again. Let me back that up here again. Sorry about that. Let's look at that temperature anomaly map here once again. Sorry about that. And we'll take that on our way out here. Again, you'll see that cold air just kind of stays in place, and then we get that little bit of that modification here as we head toward the end of the forecast period. But we got that another blast that's coming down. So we got that, there's that warm period there on the 15th, and then we get that cold shot coming in beyond that once again. So slight modification briefly, and then another cold shot, and these are quite significantly colder across the southeast. What'll be interesting is we start to develop any kind of snowpack across the northern tier states. What that's going to mean is that the air masses will not modify as much as they would if there was no snow on the ground. Obviously, if there's no snow on the ground, it's going to modify a lot. But if we start building a snowpack to the north, these air masses may not modify as much. So let's go ahead and take a look at your climate outlook here as we look at the next 6 to 10 days, looking from January 9th to the 13th. Notice we were indicating this, we were seeing some parts of the northern plains, seeing some slightly above normal temperatures there, especially out here on the west coast. Very cold into the southeast. That generally stays. That's what we were showing there on the model run there. But it looks like beyond the 17th, we got another cold blast that's going to come back in here yet again. Once again, so this briefly above normal, maybe just brief here across the high plains, but it definitely looks like another shot potentially as we go deeper into the month. This dry pattern continues, though. This really kind of concerns me because January is supposed to be a month we're supposed to be seeing progressive rainy patterns and storms and stuff, but kind of dry here in the east as well as to the west, or a little bit wetter here in the middle of the country. And that generally stays from the 11th to the 17th. So we still got drought conditions across the country for a pretty large percentage right now. And this weather pattern definitely not going to help that. We do have a couple of storm systems, but as far as, getting them on a regular basis, we're just not seeing. So we got the 2 that are coming. And then beyond the 2 this week, it's looking a little bit on the dry side. So again, it's going to be a busy week, folks, especially tomorrow with that severe weather component there with that. Maybe doing some severe weather coverage here for tomorrow to kind of get ahead of that, probably around 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon to kind of see how that severe weather develops. And then we got to deal with the winter part of this as well, which is going to impact millions of folks here across the middle of the country. So it'll be a multifaceted live event as we're watching the winter component as well as the severe weather component with the system. And then we got to deal with that secondary system coming in, heading in toward Friday. That could be impacting areas of the further south that don't normally see winter precipitation. And that, of course, will be a bit of a headache as well. So, hey, if you want to go ahead and stay up on the latest and greatest this winter season, I personally invite you to please subscribe to the channel. It'll be great and a pleasure to have you on board here. Just hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you learn on future content. And as always, if you like what you see, please give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below. It does help with the almighty YouTube algorithm. All right, that's your update here for your Saturday. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.